Hey, you, don't tell anybody, but on this video, I'm going to share with you my favorite neighborhood in all of Denver. It's on the southwestern side of town, and it is incredible if you like the outdoors, but you also want to live somewhere that's close enough to still commute to work if you have to, and it just has a ton of very cool, unique things about it. So you don't want to miss this one. Stay tuned. All right, so hopefully you didn't tell all your friends about this video. This one's just between you and me, okay? But before we get started, my name is Adam. I'm a licensed realtor here in Denver, Colorado, and I'm super excited to share an all-new episode of Living in Denver with you. On this episode, like I said, I'm gonna be sharing with you an awesome neighborhood that a lot of people don't know about that's on the southwestern side of town. But before we get started, all that info down below, feel free to reach out. Love making videos like this, but I really enjoy just connecting with viewers like yourselves. So even if you're not ready to move right now, would love to still just connect and find a few ways I might be able to provide some value to you. But like I said today, let's go ahead and get started. A brand new episode of Living in Denver. All right, so now it's time to talk about this place. Where is it? What is it? Adam, come on, what is this amazing place you're talking about? Well, it's the North Ranch at Caryl. Caryl. I'm probably gonna have a few of you guys that watch my videos gonna leave comments down below on the correct, proper way to say the name. You know, I've got some family that lived in here for 30 years, and I've kind of heard both ways, Caryl or Caryl. But more importantly, what I want you guys to know about is a specific area in Caryl called the North Ranch. Now, the North Ranch is very unique for a lot of reasons, but why I love it is it is just the perfect blend of big, nice homes, large lots, privacy, incredible rock backdrops, tons of wildlife, and you just really have this perfect blend where you feel like you're living almost in the mountains, yet you're still only a 15-minute drive to a lot of the, conveniences that we have in the Littleton area. Shopping, grocery stores, restaurants, all that good stuff. So North Ranch is just this area that I think has the best of both worlds. Now, as I said, there's definitely a little bit more of a luxury type feel for the North Ranch. So, the homes price points, they range and they vary significantly, but you definitely have a lot of homes in this area that are, $1 million bare minimum, but you'll find a lot of homes that are $1.5 million or even $2 million plus. And there's just some homes that have very, very cool, unique aspects to them. A lot of these homes are, 30 years old, so they are more mature. So some people might look at that and think that, they don't want that because there's no modern style homes. However, there are a ton of very mature trees, and you just have all the benefits of a more mature neighborhood with the landscaping and it's very established. It's also got an incredible sense of community. A lot of the people have lived there for a very long time. And a little side note I want to share with you, since this is such a great area, homes pretty rarely turn over. So a lot of people that live in this area have been there for the last 25, 30 years, maybe even a little bit longer than that. If you do the math, that age of those people is now getting to the point where they're probably empty nesters. If they had families, their kids are probably out of the house, graduated from high school, most likely graduated from college at this point. And a lot of those people are probably about ready to downsize. So I think that this is an area not only to keep your eye on because of how great it is, but also as a buyer or a potential buyer, this could be an area that you're going to start to see a little bit more turnover and more opportunities to get into this special area in the next couple or few years. So just something, a side note to make sure you guys be aware of. And if you are considering an area like this, again, I'm a licensed realtor. My phone number, my email, all that info is down below. Reach out. I have a great level of experience in just understanding specifically of southwestern Denver, Littleton, and this Caryl and North Ranch area. So when you pull into North Ranch, what I also think is super cool is all of the streets have unique names to them. Lark Bunting Lane, as an example, is where I recently sold a home. All of the homes that are in these different streets have a lot of character to them, where, as I said earlier, have large, mature trees and just big lots. So a lot of privacy, and just when you drive through these streets, I just really enjoy just looking at all of the different homes because they all do have a lot of character and just uniqueness to them. If you guys are somebody like myself that loves Christmas lights, this is also a great area to go to for Christmas time, just because it is a little bit more affluent of a neighborhood. A lot of people do a great job with their Christmas lights, and with these big trees, they look amazing. So just something else as a little side note. If I had to list like my top 3 reasons why I personally think this is a great area, number 1, it would definitely be nature. So when I say nature, not only just the scenic beauty of the area, you've got a ton of really cool red rock formations. So if you're not familiar with what red rock formations even means, think of Red Rocks Amphitheater, the great music venue that is world-renowned and only a few miles from Caryl and from the North Ranch. So very close proximity to that. And it has that same style of red rocks throughout a lot of the North Ranch. And that's one of the areas in Caryl that make it so unique because of all these red rocks that are kind of isolated to the North Ranch part of this area. In addition, though, to the visual aspect of nature, just the wildlife that you get here is incredible. You have so much to just be surprised with on a daily basis, but without a doubt, the mule deer and just, rabbits and deer are probably the 2 most common. And I mean, they're literally to the point of being almost like domestic animals in a lot of these streets in the North Ranch. The family that I recently sold a home for in here, every single day practically when I'd come over there and prepare for an upcoming showing, there'd be at least a couple, if not a full family of deer sitting down in the front lawn or kind of behind some bushes they had near their front door, as well as a lot of times in their backyard, which means that deer actually had to jump over a pretty substantial 4-foot fence. So deer are very athletic and they make their way and make themselves at home pretty much anywhere in the North Ranch. One negative to that is you are going to have quite a bit of picking up to do if you have a dog or not, meaning that they do make themselves at home and tend to, not only eat a lot of your fresh flowers and pretty landscaping that you might have. You have to be a little bit more strategic about what you're planting, but they're probably going to leave some deer poop around, little presents for you as well. But outside of just the deer and the rabbits, what I thought was so cool is there's actually bear. And one time when I had an open house at this listing I'm referring to, I actually had a bobcat, a small, like a, not a mountain lion, but I mean, it looked like a bobcat, a lynx. Very, very pretty, super colorful face, lots of just very unique hair, just kind of coming off of him. He was probably maybe like 40 pounds and just sitting on the fence, getting ready for the open house, open up the back door to let some fresh air in, and he's just hanging out in the backyard. So any day you could be surprised with, lynx, bobcat, bear, again, all kinds of stuff. Lots of hawks, a lot of really cool birds. Just everything you could think of. And the one that might be a little bit of a negative for a lot of you, including myself, rattlesnakes. These red rock formations, they're these very smooth rocks that are perfect for sunbathing. And as you can guess, that's a perfect environment for snakes. So some of the homes do back up to open space, which for a lot of people is a plus. However, I had a lot of feedback on the listing that I recently had there, which was not backing up to open space. And just talking to different neighbors and different people about the pros and cons of living with open space behind you. Yeah, you don't have a neighbor behind you. However, in some of these scenarios in North Ranch, that could mean that you have a lot of red rocks in your backyard, which could be, a perfect place for a lot of snakes. And if you have young kids or pets, that could be a big concern. So just something else to kind of keep in mind. So that was number 1, just the nature. So number 2, it's going to be just the level of privacy and tranquility. So this is an area that has almost no city light pollution. So you're far enough away from downtown Denver in the southwestern part of Denver where you really don't have a ton of high-rise buildings or anything that's producing a ton of light. So if you catch it on a night where you don't have much of a moon and a really dark night, you can look up and just see tons of stars, just really cool stargazing, as well as just how expansive the night sky is. So definitely another thing to think about in the North Ranch is just how you are protected by a lot of that light pollution not making its way over into that area, which gives you just beautiful evenings. And not only with the stars and the lack of light pollution, but also with noise. It's such a peaceful, quiet area. And that's something that as I get older, I just really appreciate more and more. I've been in different areas within Denver where I've lived where it's been the opposite of that. More recently, I lived in Sloan Lake and just had a ton of traffic. 24 hours a day, there'd be people driving by and you'd hear, loud mufflers and just noise. And nothing against that. That's part of everybody just commuting and just life. But to live in an area where you have a very limited amount of that is just something that a lot of people don't think about or consider when finding places potentially to move to. And I think that's one of the biggest perks of North Ranch is how peaceful and just quiet it is. You really have to make an effort to get all the way back into the North Ranch. So unless you're living there or you have a friend or a family member or just a reason to go back there, you really don't have anybody that's driving through there as a shortcut to get somewhere else, or even just to kind of drive through and just look through, look at houses or something. It's just very private, very tranquil, and I think a great reason why it's definitely one of my big pros. And then the third and final pro of just why I think North Ranch is so great is if you are a family, you are considering schools, there's a really good school system in this North Ranch area. I'm not going to recommend, obviously, any schools to you. I want you to do your homework yourself on that. But if you check out niche.com, that's a great resource to look a little bit more in depth on this. But just a really good different schools that are available, both private and public, and you just have some good options. So, that's something that's very important to a lot of people. And it's a great surprise, or at least an added bonus, when on top of all these other great features and reasons why you want to move to somewhere, they also have a good school system. In Denver, there's some pretty dramatic differences from one area to the next with quality of schools. So this is just something to know that this is in a higher rated school district if you start to look on some of these websites and read through some of those ratings for yourself. So I shared with you guys a few pros why I think this is a great area. If I had to just kind of play devil's advocate and give you a couple reasons why it might not be the best for some people, really the only two things that I'll share here. Number one is just going to be if you are somebody that still has to commute to work. For example, let's say you have to go work downtown Denver, and you have to still be in the office a few days a week, or even every day, all weekdays or whatever it is. It can be, a pretty decent commute. Back in the day, before we had much traffic here in Denver, that might be about a 35-minute commute. Nowadays, it could be 45 minutes, could even be as much as an hour if you're hitting it at the wrong time. The main road that's, I think, a great option for a lot of people that's very, very accessible from the North Ranch is what's called C470. And it's a great kind of a way to skirt the far western side of Denver and get from Littleton over to Golden to Wheat Ridge, and eventually can connect to I-70 and even get out to the airport, or just kind of take a back way into downtown Denver. However, a lot of people also decide to go the other way on C470, which takes you a little bit southeast, and that'll connect you into eventually Highlands Ranch, and then you can get over to I-25, which is our main north-south highway that'll take you straight into downtown Denver. There's obviously some other little local shortcuts and other ways to get around, but I just want to make the point that if you are somebody that's commuting to work, you could expect to have a bit longer of a drive time if you're going to be living in the North Ranch in comparison to other areas, even just within Littleton. I currently now live in Grant Ranch, which is an awesome place as well. I've done a few other videos recently on Grant Ranch, so make sure you guys check those out. But I want to just make this comparison. Grant Ranch, which is also in Littleton, might be about a 15-minute quicker commute to downtown Denver than you would have at a place like the North Ranch. And then the other con, it would just be the limited commercial developments, the limited options for, restaurants, shopping, all of that kind of stuff. You don't have anything that is immediate vicinity to North Ranch. Just to get from the North Ranch back, driving through the different windy streets and just back to the main thoroughfares, which would be that C470 that I just mentioned, or just continuing on Caryl Boulevard, or some of the streets that are really close to there that have retail centers and grocery stores, restaurants, all that good stuff. Just to do that little kind of distance from where you might live in North Ranch to the start of the more urban area, that's about a 10-minute, as much as maybe even 12, 15 minutes, depending on where you live, drive, especially if there's some weather you had to deal with, or, if you're just caught behind some people driving slow. So, you have a little bit less convenience when it comes to just running those quick errands. If you have to take your kids, for example, to school and 15, 20 minutes there, then back home, then again in the afternoon and back, you could be spending, more time in your car than maybe you're used to, or more time than you would if you lived in other areas that are a little bit more closer to some of these conveniences. Now, the last thing I want to share about the North Ranch that is something that I haven't even talked at all about really yet, but is definitely one of the top reasons why I would potentially live there, as well as I know a lot of other people choose to live there, is going to be this awesome trail system they have. So once you get back into the North Ranch, there are tons of trails for mountain biking, for running, for hiking, just walking your dogs. And all of this is private and exclusive to people, to residents of the North Ranch. I don't know how closely it is regulated. I don't know. They have warnings all over the place, you know, saying that you need to have a permit or a sticker, just saying that you are a resident. So they might have people occasionally patrol the area or something, but more important than that is just my extensive experience being back in this area. I have rarely seen very many people at all on any of these trails, just making the point that it is so private and pristine, and you do, again, feel like you're in the mountains with all of these trails right out your back door. You know, a lot of times people are considering moving to Denver and they have a big, you know, goal and an aspiration to be close to the mountains and have this idea of, you know what, after work a few days a week, I'm just going to go on an afternoon hike and just enjoy being out in Mother Nature and enjoy it, you know, during weeknights. And yeah, that is possible, but it is going to require a significant commitment, both time and just driving somewhere. Whereas in the North Ranch, you literally can walk out your front door and you're on a trail within 2 minutes in most scenarios. So you're right there, and just the time is money. You know, being able to avoid having to spend all this extra time going somewhere else, parking, getting out, most likely dealing with a lot more people and just having it be more crowded and busy. You know, do that enough, you're not going to be going as frequently and just taking advantage of that type of opportunity like you would if you live somewhere where it's just right out your back door. So last thing I'm going to share with you, and I saved the best for last. So as I said earlier, you know, this is kind of a secret video. I don't want you guys sharing this with all of your friends. This is a local's secret, so keep this between us. But another thing about North Ranch that is awesome is they have their own second clubhouse that is available. I think it's actually available to anybody in Caryl, but because it is so far back and kind of hidden in the North Ranch, it tends to be only typically used by people that live in that North Ranch area. And it's called the Bradford Pool and Clubhouse. And it's so cool. I'll have some videos I'll share with you guys for just some drone footage, some aerial footage I took of this area when I was selling this home just a couple streets over from the Bradford Pool. And what's so cool about it, though, is you just have this awesome red rock formation right next to the pool. Super visually just impressive and just something you don't see every day. And right behind the Bradford Pool and Clubhouse is this super old historic building from the 1800s called the Bradford Purley House. It is, you know, it's a ghost town type building. There's no roof on it. It's basically just the structure that existed from, you know, well over 100 years ago. But it is just another really cool, unique, just different thing to see. And you can walk up to it. It's, you know, maybe a quarter of a mile at most from the pool. You know, it's a very short 5-7 minute walk up to here. You can walk around it. There's all kinds of other trails that go in and out of this area. And it's just got a ton of character and it's just super cool. So the Bradford Pool and Clubhouse is just another one of these little extra bonuses, specifically if you are living in the North Ranch and definitely want to take advantage of. All right, so I hope you guys got a little bit of value out of this video. I know it's, you know, an area that for some people just might not hit and check off all the boxes for what you're looking for. North Ranch is definitely an area that is really ideal for certain people, certain families, just certain buyer profiles. If you're somebody that's outdoorsy and you just love that peacefulness where it might take a little bit longer to get home after work, or it might take a few extra minutes or maybe some strategy behind when you go grocery shopping so you only make one trip instead of two. If some of that stuff is something you can work around and deal with, and what's more important to you is that privacy, being around Mother Nature, having incredible views of the Rocky Mountains behind you, but also these red rock formations, and you're just somebody that is really outdoorsy and just loves an active lifestyle with a great sense of community. Didn't really touch on that in this video, but this is an area that has a very, very tight-knit community. This is an area that you definitely want to check out. So the North Ranch at Caryl, feel free, guys, reach out. I would love to just connect with you guys and talk a little bit more about this area. I got a lot more info I could share with you that I didn't on this video. And also I can talk through some of the specific streets and areas within North Ranch that tend to be the most popular, or also just some other things to consider if this is an area you want to put on your radar for a possible match for when you come out and live in Denver, Colorado. Really enjoyed this video. It was a little bit different as far as sharing just one of my personal favorites. I hope you guys got some enjoyment out of it as well. And as a last reminder, hit that link down below. I have a website that has a ton of great content that you may or may not know about yet. In that website, I also have 4 completely free resources that you can download. I've got a buyer's guide, a seller's guide, a guide if you're also considering new construction homes, And then also one, if you're trying to repair and just improve your credit score, so when that time does come to maybe get a mortgage and get a loan, a pre-approval, you're going to be in a position to make sure you don't have any issues and you qualify for the dollar amount you're hoping to get. So those are all available completely free on my website. So make sure you download those. And as one last final plug, make sure you guys hit that like and that subscribe button. Every week I release new videos just like this one you watched. Look forward to seeing you guys next week on an all new episode of Living in Denver. Until then, have a great rest of your week and I'll see you then. Bye.